Disability surveillance is like wearing a chain around your neck and feet. A modern-day slavery trapped by those who prefer remaining invisible while inflicting harassment and intimidation on their victims in hopes of breaking them down through restricting their physical care, psychological well-being, personal relationships, and financial resources. Harassers are rewarded many times with success because of their ability to perfect their tactics on innocent victims, as well as their disabled captives are unprepared, uninformed, and lack the resources to defend themselves, in my opinion. Does disability surveillance have to be the prison of enslavement? Not on your terms, it doesn't. Will it be a battle? From my perspective, yes, it will be. Yet they can only take your self-respect and dignity if you let them. Yes, you may experience harsh circumstances which may create despair. And just like with slaves, much of it is not in your control. However, self-respect and dignity are yours. It cannot be bought, sold, or stripped from you because of actions of others. Therefore, keep them. They will get you through this journey. And you will learn a great deal about who benefits by disability surveillance and what is the reason for it. Are laws written to protect the injured or investors? From my perspective, I'd say laws lean towards insurance companies and corporations. Start with reviewing ERISA legislation and decide for yourself. Thank you for joining me, ESTRA, this September 14, 2013, for Talking About You with ESTRA on Blog Talk Radio and ESTRA's TV, currently featured on YouTube under ESTRA's blog. Make sure not to be diverted to another link. My official website is ESTRA, pronounced ESTRA. So go to ESTRA's blog tips on Blogger for a listing of all legitimate links. This is your car accident show sharing information and concerns that help you, family, friends, and communities from an injured person's perspective, meaning the person hurt in a traffic collision. Today's topic will be on disability surveillance after a car accident. No one expects to face surveillance after being injured in a traffic collision. Most injured have placed their trust in the hands of the people who promise to help them in times of peril. Also on our program today is Personal Injury in the News, providing comments on events, holidays of the coming week, my commentary on disability surveillance, and last but not least, discussion on articles related to our topic. Is shock and disbelief experienced when realizing that you're being stalked? Questions of why, who made the decision, and what do they have to gain by harassing and intimidating someone who has enough pain and suffering? Have they no compassion? Do these bullies only go after those hurt whom they are certain cannot hold them accountable for their actions? Just as in Harry Potter, invisible cloaks can be removed, exposing what is underneath. Regardless of the mission of these harassers, you still have a dream, a life, and must continue to find a way back to a rewarding place where growth, fulfillment, and restoration define your purpose. When running into those whose preference is to take you down rather than build you up, step over them, move forward, focus, do not fall into any traps and deceit. You have far too much more to live for. Remember, the most important person in this equation is you. Take care of yourself. Your healing does not improve as much with stress. In this program, your challenges in dealing with insurance companies, self-insured employers, and coping with everyday situations from being involved in a car accident are up for discussion. I know firsthand your situation. I have dealt with insurance companies such as USAA, Geico, PIMCO, Progressive, Farmers, Allstate Premier, Blue Cross, United Healthcare, Medicare, LifeWise Assurance Company, Social Security, and employer S&C Lavender Constructors, previously known as Enron. In my opinion, I have experienced good faith from some listed above and bad faith practices from a few. This is why it is so important to research a company before making a commitment with them. In fact, make sure that you also look up and see what you can discover about their surveillance. Dial 718-766-4385 to share your comments on disability surveillance. Again, that's 718-766-4385. The after show number has changed. Place your comments at Talking About You with ESTRA on Facebook or tweet at ESTRA's Radio Show. If watching on YouTube, make sure to leave a comment. Tune in every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Blog Talk Radio, or view every Wednesday on ESTRA's TV, YouTube user ESTRA's blog. We are coming to you from Seattle, Washington. Notable mentions this week include start of National Hispanic Heritage Month, September 15th, 2013. And the information comes to us from HispanicHeritageMonth.gov, and it talks about the heritage. Quote, each year Americans observe National Hispanic Heritage Month for September 15th to October 15th. By celebrating the histories, cultures, and contributions of American citizens whose ancestors came from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. The observation started in 1968 as Hispanic Heritage Week under President Lyndon Johnson was expanded by President Ronald Reagan in 1988 to cover a 30-day period starting on September 15th and ending on October 15th. It was enacted into law on August 17th, 1988 on the approval of Public Law 100-402. The day of September 15th is significant because of the anniversary of independence for Latin American countries, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. In addition, Mexico and Chile celebrate their Independence Days on September 16th and 18th, respectively. Also, Columbus Day, or Dia de la Raza, which is October 12th, falls within the 30-day period, end quote. Educating ourselves about each other can alleviate many misconceptions and bring unity, understanding, compassion of circumstances, and improve communication. JustReadFamilies.org has recommendations on books for all levels, which is a great starting point. Make sure to view their website. Hispanic Heritage Month 2013 recommended reading list to read some of the highlighted ones. There are 3 of them here. The Latin Holiday Book, from Cinco de Mayo to Dia de los Muertos, the celebration and traditions of Hispanic Americans, and it's by Valerie Menard. Another one I wanted to mention is Chronology of Hispanic American History from Pre-Columbian Times to the Present, and it's by Nicholas Caños. And the last one is Strangers Among Us, How Latino Immigration is Transforming America, and it's by Roberto Suro. So make sure you go out and take a look. There's something out there probably for everyone in the family. Let's close this notable mention with Presidential Proclamation, National Hispanic Heritage Month 2013. Quote, from the earliest days of our republic, Hispanic Americans have written crucial chapters in our national story. Hispanics have honorably defended our country in war and built prosperity during times of peace. They run successful businesses, teach our next generation of leaders, and pioneer scientific and technological breakthroughs. This month, America acknowledges these vital contributions and celebrates our Hispanic heritage. Hispanic Americans represent an array of distinct and vibrant cultures, each of which enriches communities in valuable ways. Just as America embraces a rich blend of backgrounds, those who journey to our shores embrace America. Sharing the dream of equality and boundless opportunity, many Hispanics have marched for social justice and helped advance America's journey towards a more perfect union. Last year, I was proud to establish the Cesar E. Chavez National Monument in honor of an American hero, a man who reminded us that every life has value, that together those who recognize their common humanity have the power to shape a better world. As Cesar Chavez's example teaches us, we must never scale back our dreams. My administration remains committed to building a rising, thriving middle class, a middle class accessible to the Hispanic community and to all Americans. As we continue to implement the Affordable Care Act, more than 10 million uninsured Latinos will gain access to coverage. To reduce health disparities, my administration will work to educate, engage, and enroll Hispanic Americans in the health insurance marketplace. Last year, we lifted the shadow of deportation off young people who are American in every way but on paper. Today, I am as determined as ever to pass common sense immigration reforms that helps American workers get a fairer deal, adds more more than $1 trillion to our economy and provides a pathway to earn citizenship. A bipartisan bill consistent with these principles has already passed the Senate, and a growing coalition of Republicans and Democrats is calling for action. Whether our ancestors crossed the Atlantic in 1790, the Rio Grande in 1970, Americans are bound by a set of common values, a love of liberty and justice, the belief that a better life should await anyone willing to work for it. As we celebrate the unique influences of Hispanic culture during National Hispanic Heritage Month, let us also rededicate ourselves to realizing our shared aspirations. To honor the achievements of Hispanics in America, the Congress, by Public Law 100-402, as amended, has authorized and requested the President to issue annually a proclamation designating September 15th through October 15th as National Hispanic Heritage Month. Now, therefore, I, Barack Obama, President of the United States of America, do hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th, 2013, as National Hispanic Heritage Month. I call upon public officials, educators, librarians, and all Americans to observe this month with appropriate ceremonies, activities, and programs. In witness thereof, I hereby set my hand this 13th day of September in the year of our Lord 2013, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 238th, Barack Obama, end quote. Immigration reform will help people of all creeds and colors. America is the United States of America, and inclusion should be broad and fair for all people. Hopefully, Congress will have something to show other than being the worst congressional body in history. Perhaps they will consider doing the right thing for all people on immigration reform. Our next notable mention is Citizenship Day, and that's September 17, 2013. Our first description comes from thetimeanddate.com. Quote, Constitution Day and Citizen Day is a combined event that occurs in the United States on September 17th each year. On this day, U.S. citizens remember the blessings of liberty and are recognized for holding the responsibility of citizenship. This event commemorates the formation and signing of the Constitution of the United States on September 17, 1787. It also recognizes all who, by coming of age or by naturalization, have become U.S. citizens. End quote. The U.S. Department of Education states, quote, this year is the 226th anniversary of the Constitution. Each educational institution that receives federal funds for a fiscal year is required to hold an educational program about the U.S. Constitution for its students. There are a myriad of resources and activities which families and classrooms can use to plan a Constitution Day event. End quote. I'd like to highlight just a few on the list. The first one, and you can actually find these links out on Talking About You with ESTRA on Facebook. The first one is the Constitution Center in Philadelphia is holding a series of events throughout the year. You can learn about these at constitutionalcenter.org/Constitutions Day. And also the Library of Congress American Memory Site provides numerous resources on the Constitution. These two links provide access, and it's memory.loc.gov. In fact, if you go there, you'll see it. And then you have Amen. It's kind of odd. Okay, so I just recommend you actually go out to memory.loc.gov and go out and take a look and do a search on the American Memory Site, which is AMMEM. So you'd have memory.loc.gov/amen, which is AMMEM. And like I said, those links will also be out there too, in case you need some help. Let's hope as we make decisions about keeping the peace in 2013, we consider the President's proclamation of 2012. Excerpts from it. It says, quote, by the President of the United States of America, a proclamation. Today we celebrate our heritage as a country bound together by fidelity to a set of ideas and a system of governance first laid out in America's Constitution. The product of fierce debate and enduring compromise Our nation's Constitution has guided our progress from 13 to 50 states that stretched from the sea to shining sea. It has watched over our growth from a frail experiment in democracy to a beacon of freedom that lights the world. It has vested in each of us the power to appeal to principles that could broaden democracy's reach. As we mark this 225th, now it would be the 226th this week, anniversary of the signing of our Constitution, we also recognize the candidates for citizenship who will commemorate this day by joining our American family. For more than 2 centuries, our country has drawn enterprising men and women from around the world, individuals who have sought to build a life as good as their talents and their hard work would allow. Generations have crossed land and ocean because of the belief that in America all things are possible. Okay, I'm going to drop down a little bit here. This week we reflect on the basic rights and responsibilities of citizenship, the founding documentation from which they were drawn, and the extraordinary legacy of progress they have enabled. Let us forever uphold the ideals the framers enshrined in our Constitution, and let us never cease in our pursuit of the more perfect union they imagined many years ago. I'm going to stop there, end quote. Sometimes it's nice to actually take a moment and review the Constitution, certain parts, or just start slowly. I know it's a lot sometimes to absorb, and it's not always easy to find. I do have links out on our Twitter if you're interested in locating it. But freedom should be for everyone, including people who've been injured in a car accident. The same rights should apply whether you have resources or you don't, and that people with power should have no more rights than those that do not, and they certainly should not have the power to harass and intimidate because of a claim. So I hope that this has actually given you more information. Make sure that you're doing your part to ensure that the Constitution remains for the people and by the people, and not for the corporations alone. Because without our constant involvement in politics, many of those constitutional rights might be amended away, and the things that you thought were your rights may end up being something of previous generation and doesn't be carried into the future. Our last notable mention is International Day of Peace, September 21st, 2013. TimeAndDate.com describes it as a UN resolution established the International Day of Peace in 1981 to coincide with the opening of the UN General Assembly. The first Peace Day was celebrated in 1982 and was held on the third Tuesday of September each year until 2002, when September 21st became the permanent date for the International Day of Peace. The Assembly decided in 2001 that the International Day of Peace should be annually observed, and on September 21st, starting in 2002. The Assembly decided in 2001 that the International Day of Peace should be annually observed. By setting a fixed date for the International Day of Peace, the Assembly declared that the day should be observed as a day of global ceasefire and nonviolence. That's a nice thought. By creating the International Day of Peace, the UN devoted itself to a worldwide peace and encouraged people to work in cooperation for this goal. Since its inception, Peace Day has marked personal and planetary progress towards peace. It has grown to include millions of people worldwide, and many events are organized each year to commemorate and celebrate this day. International Day of Peace recognizes the efforts of individuals, organizations, and governments to end conflict and promote peace. Now, for a personal injury in the news this week. These are my views on current events and have no association with the writers of the articles unless it's ESTRA's blog tips. This Monday morning, while on your way to work or traveling to a personal destination and listening to a local radio station, when the news of a traffic collision comes on, remember, for the individuals involved, their lives may have been changed temporarily or permanently. A good faith auto insurance company can help with a speedy recovery by fair, responsive treatment. Yet those dealing with a bad faith auto insurance company can face delays, denials, and surveillance. Wisely choose your auto insurance and employer, which could also be your short-term and long-term disability insurance company. The people involved in the article reviewed this week lost their lives. One in a vehicle, the other on a motorcycle. Considering the number of accidents per week is around 7,000. Let me repeat that. The number of car accidents per week is around 7,000. Considering the number of accidents per week, most types of traffic collisions will happen. Therefore, the more informed and prepared before a car accident, in my opinion, the journey through the experience will help overcome obstacles faced. Articles inspiring our personal injury in the news this week include UCLA walk-on Nick Pasquale hit by car and killed, and fatal motorcycle, and that's by usatoday.com story, and fatal motorcycle crash on 10 freeway clogs traffic in San Dimas, and that comes to us from the LATimes.com. Drive safely. Your life is precious. Each day, live as your last, striving for goals and dreams. This makes it a life well lived. Surveillance does happen to unsuspecting car accident victims. Many of the circumstances are similar in nature. Take a simple surveillance survey of 9 easy questions at www.surveymonkey.com/S/758M9HP. That's surveymonkey.com/S/758M9HP. Thanks for your participation. Awareness is the key. Now for my commentary on disability surveillance. From my perspective, the top 10 things to do after learning about surveillance is, first, to contact your local police department. I will tell you the same thing that those before me repeated, that unfortunately this will not be of any help more than likely. In fact, it is believed that the law is on the side of auto insurance companies and employers, and particularly because of the contract signed at the time of accepting benefits. Reading the fine print is important, yet where is our legislative body in all of this? Who will stand up against the abuse of harassment and intimidation due to filing auto insurance claim or a short or long-term disability claim after being in a car accident? Do as those before you. Think of this as documenting what is happening to you. Next, accept that this is really happening. It's very difficult to get your mind around this. The why question continues to surface, and the answers, in my opinion, is not that far away. It's called money. More for the investors and less for the injured or sick. You can be better prepared and informed, learn how to be your best advocate, and protect yourself as much as possible. Expect little or no privacy tip. Number 3, typically they have a lot of information, and in my opinion, some of it is accurate and some of it is speculation. Remember, they are attempting to build a case against you, so they may be desperate to create or find anything they can. Yet go on about rebuilding your life. They may want to make you a hostage or a slave to them, but don't allow it. Continue on with recovery and go on the best you can. Remember, it is a car accident that placed you in this situation. There is no need for you to be intimidated by harassers for it. Number 4, build up a strong emotional IQ. What this means is that you will face things never imagined, so psychologically you must be prepared for the things that are about to come your way. Attempts will be made to discourage, create a hopeless atmosphere, to get you to believe that they have all the power, so there's nothing you can do. Don't believe them. Never give up. This is your life, and in my opinion, they have no ownership of it. Furthermore, they do not have the right to mistreat and abuse you. Yet, in my opinion, this happens all the time. However, you continue to focus on renewing yourself and getting well. Do not engage their behavior, and believe me, they will try to engage you, and do not allow them to make you afraid. Document what they say and do to you. Your power and your will is yours alone. Never turn this over. Yes, they will follow you even to public bathrooms. They will look inside the windows of your home. In fact, they will park right in front of where you live. Yet continue on. Remember, the most important person in this equation is you. And this is why the name of this program is Talking About You. Number 5. Today, almost everyone has a cell phone with a camera. Document your experience. Both pictures and videos say a lot. Number 6, remember their license plate, faces, children, pets, etc. Also remember the locations that you may see them when perhaps on their own time. You may be fortunate enough to stumble upon some of their routines. Number 7, trust and believe in yourself. Do not let doubt slip into your mind. There will be many mind games played upon you, in my opinion. Yet be vigilant in being true to yourself. This is one of the main ingredients of making it through this journey. Number 8, share your experiences with others. I found great comfort in learning how others survived this traumatic experience, and unfortunately, this was more common than I thought. As you gain more experience and more knowledge, your ability to cope with their interference and respond to their harassment and intimidation will be more effective. Number 9, from my perspective, harassers may request the help of people you may know in order to become more effective in their cause and supply more pressure to you. Pay attention and be aware of your surroundings. If you're noticing changes, you may want to observe and investigate their actions, but the most important thing to do is to stay true to yourself and not to be led astray by the actions and behaviors of others. And number 10, know that you can and will make it through anything thrown your way. You will learn, grow, think in ways never imagined. Perhaps an innocence will be lost. Your precious perceptions will grow. Your life perceptions will grow. Take this bad situation and find something good in it. It is there, albeit sometimes hard to find. Make sure to read, listen, or watch archived and live programs for encouragement and information. It will help you take surveillance one day at a time and provide suggestions of possible solutions to everyday hassles. Again, comments on the topic articles reviewed today are my opinion. Make sure to stop by ESTRA's blog tips on Blogger. The first topic article today is Travel Harassment, Disability Surveillance. When harassment enters your life, it disrupts daily routines, impacts relationships, causes emotional and physical trauma. In my opinion, insurance companies or self-insured employers' goal is to get you off balance, bringing financial hardship into your life, and thus drop you to your knees in tears, begging them to go away and leave you alone. On October 3rd, 2012, I personally believe this was a day of testing. First, I woke up to find I had no disability benefits available. This meant I would be leaving for Los Angeles without much money in my account. These travel plans had been made months earlier. Now perhaps harassers thought this would be enough to end my plans and to crack me. I've walked through many storms, so trials and tribulations are nothing new. I am a witness that going through the fire can indeed make you stronger, but there is always a cost. I continued on with what I had and could borrow. Great, borrow. Debt is a looming thing for someone with limited resources, yet, as I mentioned time and time again, focus is the key to getting where you are going. I'm sure harassers were filled with delight to my rude awakening, feeling their accomplishments of my demise, since nothing else had stopped me from talking about their intimidation and harassment. Did they really think more bullying would shut me down? Or do I have the Bruce Willis in Die Hard phenomenon going on? So onward and upward to catch my flight with a heavy heart. The selected airport parking performed an excellent job of getting me to the Seattle-Tacoma airport. Southwest Airlines services for people with disabilities was very considerate. Thus far, I have not received better service from an airline. At this time, it appears harassers are scrambling a bit. Had they expected this to be my drop to your knees in tears experience? Hadn't they read my book? That time for me had already passed. From my view, it seemed to take them time to recover from an unexpected event. Me arriving for the flight? Was this the reason for the next surprise? When traveling to the Caribbean last summer, I thought my luggage being searched was just random, and I thought nothing about it. When I traveled to Los Angeles via LAX airport this summer, my luggage was searched again, and I began to wonder, is it random or specific? But my last trip to Los Angeles this fall, with another baggage search, I was convinced there was nothing random in the dismantling of my luggage. And unfortunately, this wasn't the worst part of the trip. The next adventure of continual rescheduling of my flight became perpetual. It was scheduled to leave the Seattle-Tacoma airport at 11 a.m. It was changed so many times that I began to wonder if I would be able to get out of Seattle. The plane ended up leaving around 4 p.m., making my arrival into Los Angeles about 9 p.m. that evening. My pain levels were rising like the sun, and I had the heat too. My injuries were on fire. I thought, could they do this? Do they have enough power to attempt to make this a miserable trip? Initially, I thought, no. Who would aggravate an entire plane of people just because they were surprised by my ability to still take this flight? Come on, ESTRA. That seems ridiculous, I thought to myself. But I couldn't let the thought go. I know things can happen to delay flights, but there was something unusual about it. Upon arriving at LAX airport, our attendant said, "We don't know what was going on in Seattle and apologize again for the long delays." Could there have been more than one thing going on? I don't know. But what I do know is that the harassment and intimidation is real. How many were on the plane that day? I cannot give you a head count, but I assure you there were a few. If you don't think we need to change the laws to protect the disabled from insurance and self-insured employers, ask someone who has made it through this type of abuse, or those who buckled under the pressure. This pressure is not for the faint of heart, and no one who gave into their demands should be ashamed. In my opinion, their behaviors are mean-spirited. From my perspective, they are used to breaking down and terrorizing the disabled in an effort to keep them quiet and to give up their benefits. Harassment in Los Angeles was no picnic for those doing their employer's work. When they have no roadmap to follow as to where you are going, they are not in control and therefore make mistakes. And fortunately, unable to set up psychological games to bully as easily. I had a week of rest and enjoyment despite them. However, things did not get any better on my way back to Seattle. Southwest Airlines disabled services were great again, but to my surprise, my ability to get through TSAA security would soon provide additional knowledge to my baggage of harassment experiences. As I passed through security, I was stopped as a random person to search, which by this time, my perspective on random was out the window. What happened next is still unbelievable. A TSAA employee began swiping my hand. I was immediately informed by the beeping of a machine that I had gunpowder residue on my hand. What? How? When? This is truly outrageous. I had just spent a week in a home where I did absolutely nothing and whose home products were organic. In my opinion, this was pre-programming harassment. Do harassers have too much power? Are they running our country? Or have too much influence? Do they believe this country belongs to them instead of the citizens? I was in shock. However, it enforced my opinion that these harassers need to be placed in check. The average citizen should not be subjected to these harassment tactics, especially the disabled who typically are not able to fight against forces such as this and typically not sure how to get their voices heard. Can the average person even process this situation? Personally, I don't know what I'd be thinking if it had not happened to me. There was a guy standing before me at TSAA security location with a smirk on his face like he was enjoying watching me go through this. To confirm my suspicions, I asked him whether he had also been randomly selected. He replied no. In my opinion, I thought he could be the person who instigated this search on me. Are we going back to the time of don't touch my junk? I can see why people were upset. Everything except my junk was checked, including my trunk. I was concentrating hard on absorbing what was happening to me at these moments in order to share them with you. Otherwise, I would have been furious. Several of the TSAA personnel looked upon the screen, looked back at me with disbelief written on their faces. I cannot imagine what vile, untrue information they were seeing. But by the look on their faces, it wasn't good. But how did it get there? Who was responsible? More importantly, was there a way for me to get that information? Is there a direct link between them and insurance companies or self-insured employers? The privacy of each citizen used to expect has been lost, in my opinion. When insurance companies and self-insured employers have the power power to influence those in public office or our airport security personnel? Movies fiction has become a reality. My perspective when watching movies and seeing individuals in similar situations has been forever changed. I will wait to hear both sides of a story before making up my mind rather than believing just what I see. What I will take from the movies is the individual's sheer determination to set things straight. This is why I personally believe in advocacy. In my opinion, it is a great way to level the playing field and bring attention to needed changes in the treatment of sick or injured individuals by insurance companies or self-insured employers. But until these changes are made, there are other options available to you. You can have an empowered mind and spirit. You can choose to endure anything they throw your way and live to tell the tale. Unfortunately, in my opinion, the harassment and intimidation thrown at the injured and sick by insurance companies and self-insured employers provide, upon graduation, a PhD in overcoming. Yes, you can achieve it. Anytime you are being schooled in playing hardball with people who have the power and control in your society, which creates a David and Goliath relationship, you have to stay focused to achieve your goal of gaining life back along with the respect and dignity of your condition. Yes, you will have to fight for it, because when there is money involved, in my opinion, these people would rather die than do the right thing, which means pay out your benefits when they exceed the amount of money they are willing to pay out. Be involved in your community. Contact elected officials both at the state and federal levels. Sleeping is not an option now unless you want harassment and intimidation at the whims of insurance companies and self-insured employers. End quote. You know, we've seen a lot of information on surveillance since NSA's come out, and Snowden seems to be looking, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, better and better as more information comes out. I don't know if we really knew the extent to which information has been placed out there, but I would be even more concerned with the abilities of insurance companies and employers and what they can actually do with your information and how accessible it is to them, how they would use us in a surveillance mode and why, and actually what gives them the authority to do some of the things that they're doing to people with auto insurance claims. Everyone needs to take action because everyone can be involved in a car accident at any time, and just because you're hurt in an accident should not give people the right to harass, intimidate, deny, delay, and also perform surveillance. Most injured people have enough trouble and are barely struggling to get by, so the additional stress is an unfair practice that the injured or sick should not be subjected to. Our next article is also from ESTRA's blog tip, and the title of the article is Why the Harassment by Insurance Companies. Quote, why the harassment by insurance companies? And which companies have the highest rates of harassment and intimidation of the insured? Will this information be available to share? I'm on a journey to find the answers. Upon searching, information to answer these questions was not easy to find. Information that helped to form my opinion are shown at the end of the page via links for viewing. If you find additional information, please feel free to send to me those comments and or links. Disability information seems to be held closely to their chest, so to speak. In my opinion, it is the bottom line for insurance carriers. How the moral or social cost was factored into their decisions is anyone's guess. In commercials, they say they are here when you need them. But are they for the disabled? Are they there when claims exceed more than a targeted money range? I'm not so sure. I saw insurance ads on most web links where insurers were voicing concerns regarding their treatment. Is this damage control? With so many of the disabled making the same complaints regarding insurance claims, one would think legislation would be introduced on behalf of the disabled. I was unable to locate Congress legislation being brought forth to help. Do the disabled need to raise up by using their votes, especially in 214, to bring issues to their attention? Many family members and the disabled bear the burden for this unfair treatment. Many injured individuals who have long-term disability insurance policies did not find them sufficient when unseen events took place. Do insurance companies harass just because they are in a position of power? Are they taking their fiduciary position for your money held in trust too far? Hearing insurance companies answer these questions could shed more light on their stance. Many times their standard statement is they need to investigate the claim. However, time and time again, these companies have the documentation to confirm a claim, but instead of satisfying it, continue to harass and intimidate the insured. How often are insurance companies acting in bad faith with their insureds? They have unlimited money at their disposal to not only harass, but to defend their position in court. Court is expensive and therefore their best defense against those with minimal resources. Is the money we give in premiums being used against us? Perhaps an evaluation is needed to ascertain which companies treat the disabled with respect, integrity, and pay premiums to those organizations. Many individuals who've had awful experiences with insurance companies are willing to share their stories, thus provide help to others going through it. The injustice of the situation creates the desire to step out and discuss this matter. There are still too many unanswered questions regarding the treatment of disabled claims. This is one conversation that will continue into the future until the answers are available and treatment is fair, end quote. I personally am going to continue to research information. The more that I find, the more I'll put out on the blog, or I'll talk about here, the radio show, or on ESTRATV, because I think it's very important that the injured need to be informed and aware of the things that may happen when involved in a car accident. Okay, the next article also is from ESTRA's blog tips out on Blogger, and the title of the article is You and Employer Disability Harassment. Quote, why are insurance companies' employers excluded from the laws of harassment? Why would it be okay to intimidate group disability insurance policy employees while no other citizens are subjected to this behavior? In addition, why would officers of the law ignore requests for help by the injured? Who has given them a pass on bullying behaviors which impacts negatively on injured employees? Should employers have these rights just because they are required to pay out on a disability claim? How is this fair or just? What is the traumatic effect on people who are already injured and most times at their weakest moments? How many cave in to drop their claims because they buckle under the weight of pain, suffering, and now loss of income they thought would be available if tragedy strikes? Yes, currently an employer withholding disability income from an employee have few or little consequences, thus makes it an attractive alternative to paying out claims. By limiting the amount of reimbursements for such malicious behavior, Congress has unfairly targeted the injured for mistreatment, in my opinion. The poor have gotten poor, the middle class dropped to poor, and the wealthy fight back like crazy. Why should injured have to fight for the right to be treated with respect and dignity through this process? Should the laws of our land protect injured and sick? These laws apply to individual insurance policies. Why would employer group insurance policies be excluded? Why would ERISA, which is the legislation created by Congress, give them more rights and privileges than those injured whom supposedly these laws were initially created to protect? It is time to ask congressional representatives this question. Where do you stand on this issue? And would you vote for ERISA reform to make it fair for injured or sick employees? Initially, in the claim process, a stage is set for injured to feel safe and secure for working on their injuries. Initially, in the claim process, a stage is set for injured to feel safe and secure for working on their injuries. Most bend over backwards to provide the answers requested by insurance companies or employers. Many are surprised, some sooner than later, when receiving a letter that their benefit stopped, or even worse, their benefit check does not show up when expected. Next, add the ploy of overpayment scare tactics, which many times intimidate employees into relinquishing their rights and benefits. This may compound feelings of loss and despair for too many individuals. Is this why you were paying premiums each pay period? Are you expecting a safety net in case of trouble? In these instances, benefits don't come. Now you have to hire an attorney and fight for 2 to 10 years for benefits. This becomes a time of great endurance, of suffering and loss for employees injured in a car accident. Compensation to injured should not be dropped at the discrepancy of employers, since they have a vested interest in maintaining profitability of their bottom line. Isn't this a conflict of interest? Is it this desire for profitability that engages many in disability harassment against employees? If so, should there be something in place to discourage this practice instead of using it with vigor? How about a requirement that all profits they make in those 2 to 10 years are prorated to their insurers? Would this change a behavior that is typically industry-wide? Imagine the amount of suffering it would reduce. How many injured could recover sooner and get on with their lives? How many of their families would not be overly burdened? How many relationships could be saved because of less stress? The what-ifs are endless. So next time you write or talk to your Congress representative, ask them to reform ERISA. Make it the same as an individual disability insurance policy. With these policies, harassment and intimidation practices have consequences the injured can act upon to curb behaviors which inflict pain and suffering in an effort to eliminate disability benefits to injured or sick people. Our next article is also by ESTRA's Blog Tips, and the title is Memorize Their Plates. Are people following you? What's one of the first things to do? Write down their license plate. This will provide proof this is really happening and you're not at the movies. After continual harassment and intimidation, there is a recognition of the cars from a distance. When the reality sinks into what is happening, begin to educate yourself on how others have managed this situation. Don't panic. You are not alone. You have done nothing wrong. In my opinion, this has always been about insurance company and self-insured employers' bottom lines. Fear and intimidation tactics have been used against people since the beginning of time. Pace yourself. Allow extra time for getting to places. First and foremost, begin using the camera on your cell phone and purchase a camera that has both picture and video options. Use it whenever you go outside your home. In fact, there are times it can be used inside, and sometimes the harassment is relentless. Confirmation of experiences will be easily recognized here by reading past blogger articles. My Twitter account is @ESTRA's Blog Tips, provides daily support and informational links. Instead of time-consuming searches around the internet, here you can find much of the information and links throughout tweets. So scroll, learn, and be comforted. It's important to understand the manipulation that occurs when short-term disability and long-term disability claims are open. A person who is being terrorized does not normally make good decisions. These unfavorable choices for you will be favorable for employer of harassers. But there is a long list of survivors, so be prepared to join those who refuse to accept the norm. Abuse of the disabled should not be tolerated by any venue. Whether it's ERISA or disrespect from insurance companies and self-insured employers, each person impacted by these behaviors should stand up. Enough is enough. In summary, learn their license plates. When harassers get out of their cars, get to know their faces. Once you recognize their faces, move to shapes, sizes, colors, tattoos, piercing, and other things about their features that stand out. Remember, you have rights and don't have to be victimized because of becoming injured or sick. This isn't the movies. It's real and impacting your life in the worst ways. You are important, and so is living your life. It's amazing whenever I talk on this subject, it seems like I have more and more to say as time goes on, and I guess that's a good thing because that means that I'm learning. Okay, this is our last article, and it's called You and Disability Counter-Surveillance, and it's also on ESTRA's Blog Tips. Quote, one's life changes dramatically when you become disabled due to a car accident. And it's very difficult for most people to put your life back together again. As we will learn today, the time for complete or partial recovery takes time. Most people experience major financial woes, and if their claim is substantial, fighting insurance companies or self-insured employers to receive their benefits, the life of most people injured in a car accident is hard. Most experience years of pain, suffering, and brokenness. Now place on top of this harassment and intimidation by insurance companies and self-insured self-insured employers who don't want to pay out on large claims, which cause many disabled to become overwhelmed, creating additional injuries to the already devastated victims. As in the personal injury article, there are over 4 million car accidents per year, which means many disabilities are caused in collisions. Most employees pay disability premiums each pay period out of their paychecks. I would agree with autoinsurance.org's statement that insurance companies are part of a large industry, one of the largest and most profitable in the United States. I'd like to add, in the world now. However, I would like to suggest these companies are not tightly regulated. In fact, in my opinion, their power has provided them with the privileges of calling the shots through their lobbying efforts in Congress and their large coffers compared to state budgets, who actually regulate them, unless they are self-insured who are under federal jurisdiction via ERISA, which in my opinion means employees may have a very difficult time obtaining benefits if substantial in nature. I personally believe it's the power of this industry for no federal regulations outside of ERISA. I do believe this is intentional and allows insurance companies more control over their insureds and opens the door to harassment and intimidations of large value claims in order not to pay them. In fact, in my opinion, their goal is to pay the least amount regardless of the validity of the claim. Most states have an office called Insurance Commissioner or Insurance Bureau that licenses insurance companies and monitors their actions. This is where many injured people file complaints against insurance companies to no avail. The only thing this does, in my opinion, is to notify insurance companies who is complaining about them. I have known few remedies coming from these complaints, and from my point of view, this is due to their power and control, something that Congress should have legislated many years ago. It's almost as insurance companies are too big to control because they have their hands in many economic sectors. Which brings me back to the harassment and intimidation of the insured, in particularly with large claims. They have the ability to stall claims for years. If you want to know how many complaints have been lodged against a specific insurance company, you can find that information at the Insurance Commissioner's website. And this way, you can take certain insurance companies off your list for possible prospects. For self-insured employers, a complaint can be filed with the Department of Labor. If you have filed a complaint with them, I would like to hear your comments on the experience. Self-insured employers tend to be financially sound. Why would anyone place banking and insurance together? They are huge industries by themselves. I personally believe it's because of their levels of power and control. We have seen what can happen when they receive too much leeway, and in my opinion, this is why disability harassment and intimidation can go as far as it does. We need to change this. The only way this will happen is when your voice and pain is heard. So being silent is not an option for anyone going through intimidation at the hands of an insurance company or employer, because it will only get worse. And the more injured people and their families will go without because of this behavior. If you're not receiving benefits, just harassment and intimidation, make sure to file a complaint against them with your state insurance bureau or commissioner. The Minnesota Department of Insurance says it well, quote, "A self-insured group health plan is one in which the employer assumes the financial risk for providing health care." Okay, I'm dropping down. If you have health insurance through your employer, you can find what you need to know about the plan by reading your benefits handbook. Then, if you're still not sure, ask the people who work in the Human Resources or Union Benefits office. Make sure to read the fine print, especially for disability benefits. There are things there that probably think you're never going to use, but it's very important for you to read that fine print, especially before becoming injured. It's important to cover all your bases when confronted with harassment, intimidation, and claim denial. But remember, the most that you can do is your best. The rest is in their hands. The most important thing is for you to remember is that you can go on, you should go on, and never give up.